I'm just going to stay like this so people think that I've frozen. How are we doing, guys? I think we're live again. Just in the chat, making sure that you guys are actually chatting, because if you're not, I won't be happy. There we go. Right then. I actually don't know how many of you made it to the webinar yesterday. It was a banger, in my opinion. I thought it was a banger. It's going to be live for one more day. I don't even know if it'll be one more day, maybe less than a day. So if you missed out on that one, I'd recommend checking it out after you watch this one. Delayed a little bit today because of, well, it's a Sunday evening and I had plans on a Sunday evening. So I've had to take care of those plans and now we get into this. So we'll do a little bit of talk, Q&A for 30 minutes and then the big man, Ben Pakulski's coming on. Arguably, Ben Pakulski is probably the guy I've learned the most from. Particularly in my 20s, mid-20s, I learned a lot from him. The guy knows a hell of a lot, and I think he's kind of moved into his speciality of coaching men over 40 now. So that'll be quite interesting to talk about because, I mean, I'm not there yet, but I'm kind of halfway through this decade, 35 years old, getting closer on the side to 40 now. So yeah, we're all going to be there. Maybe some of you guys are watching are already there. But everyone else who's not 40 yet is going to be 40, so we'll be talking about a lot of cool things. So, as I mentioned yesterday, body recomp, cut, grow, maintain, they're the three options that we want to be focusing on. I didn't really talk about gym protocol, okay? So this is the mindset that you need when you are inside of the gym and even to the lead up to going to the gym so you get the very best out of your session. This is highly underrated. And I see this all the time. When I'm there training, I'm always like looking around, scouting the crowd, seeing what people do. And I would probably say there's like 10% of the people actually in the gym who are locked in and training they should be training. Everybody else is just not there. They're not focused. They're distracted. They're talking. They're not there to do the thing they're actually supposed to do. So, first thing, have a plan. Got to always have a plan when you go to the gym. If you improvise it, the session is just going to be a little bit of a mess. The only people that can really improvise gym sessions are the ones that are coaches, right? That do it actually for a living. But even then, I've noticed if I don't have a plan, it is kind of a little bit all over the place. Yes, I get the session done. Yes, I burn some calories, but it is the most optimal session that I could possibly do. No, it's not, okay? So you need a plan. If you're struggling to find a good plan, first step. In case you didn't know. Right, warm-ups, right? This is a question I get asked a lot. It's like, Mike, what should I do warming up when I'm inside of the gym? What's the best warm-up to do? Now, this is going to be dependent on the type of workout. I have different warm-ups based on whether it's going to be upper body session or lower body session. The lower body needs to be, in my opinion, just a little bit more warmed up because of the old mobility and the hips and the lower back. And obviously, I'll be loading up quite a significant amount of weight whenever I'm doing any kind of deadlift or squat. So really 3 to 5 minutes should be spent on doing some kind of dynamic movements just to loosen up your body. But then you go straight into the first exercise and you're really just preparing yourself for what is to come when you're going to be lifting your working weight. Okay, so you're literally just going through the motions. You do a couple of repetitions with no weight. Very short rest. You take this rest whilst you're putting a little bit of extra weight onto the machine, the barbell, whatever it might be. Then you do a couple more extra reps. Again, load it up with some more plates. This rest period in between these little warm-up sets is very short, it's 20 seconds. And then you get to the point where you're pretty much at your working set. Maybe rest a little bit more if you need to, so the heart rate has come down and you're ready to fully give everything you could possibly give. Then we go in, okay? The sets themselves. This is a general approach, I would say. Train up to the point so that you have 1 rep in reserve. Now this can be quite hard to calculate because who really knows what true failure is? Most people don't. Okay, most people probably have a couple extra reps inside that they're not even aware that they had. Okay, so I would always advise to train with intensity. Push very close to failure. But most people will know this, when you're doing the last rep and you think, you know what, I can't actually do I don't think I'll be able to do a full rep after this one, that's when I would call it a day, okay? Even if you've fallen 1 rep short of the target, it's not the end of the world, right? As long as you have progressed on the previous week and lifted a little bit more. Rest periods. This should be something that is gauged. Now, inside of my app, I do have recommendations on how long rest intervals should be, from 1 to 2 to 3 minutes. Generally speaking, if you're doing a big compound lift, you need to take a longer rest in between the sets. Isolation movements maybe don't need as long as a rest. They could be 60 seconds, maybe a little bit more. But ultimately, I have the Whoop. I keep an eye on my heart rate. Usually I won't go into the next set until it's come down below 120 beats per minute. Even though I might mentally be ready to go, if it's still at 130, 140, I know that the output is going to be limited because I haven't fully recovered from the previous set. Now, this is when cardio can come into play and be advantageous for your gym sessions, because the better your cardiovascular system is, the quicker it's going to be for you to recover in between your working sets. Okay, so the quicker it's going to take for your heart rate to go back down to a pretty steady rate. If your cardio is terrible, then you will notice this. You'll be either gassed out halfway through the sets, or it'll just take you such a long period of time to rest and recover before you do that set again. Okay? Something you gauge, rest as long as you need to so that you can match or improve upon the previous set's intensity. That's what I always say. Next one. This is so important, particularly for the entrepreneurs, the people who have got a million things going on. The moment you go into the gym and you start your session, you cannot be thinking about work, okay? You can't be thinking about the things that you need to be doing. You cannot be thinking about, you know, this issue that you might be having with your partner or any relationship problems, okay? You have to turn off the notifications. This is what I always do. There's apps where you can literally disable, like Instagram, social media apps, your WhatsApp, but I know some people may need to be contacted for an emergency. But for me, I turn off the notifications so that I'm not distracted. Because if you're constantly, like, you're in the middle of 5 conversations whilst doing your workout, you're not focused, you're not concentrating, and I can guarantee you the session is not going to be as good as it possibly can be, because your head is just not in the game. Your head needs to be in the game. And it's only going to be for like 45 minutes to 1 hour of the day where you just need to shut off from the world and just lock the fuck in. Okay, so please do that for me. I can't even tell you how many times, like, I've literally ruined my session because I've checked an email or I've checked a WhatsApp message that's completely thrown me off track, and I cannot stop thinking about this issue that has occurred, something which could have very easily been dealt 45 minutes later, but no, I decided to check the message and it ruined the session. So it's not worth it. There really is not that much of an emergency, at least that I've experienced to this day, where I should miss my gym session. Next one, eating 1 to 2 hours before the session, if the goal is to maximize your performance and lift heavier most of the time. Now, does that mean that you cannot go to the gym when you're in a fasted state? Not necessarily. Okay, if I, for whatever reason, do train very early on in the morning, then I will go to the gym fasted, because the time that it's been from when I've had my previous meal hasn't been that long, okay? As every hour goes by from the moment you've woken up, your performance is going to deteriorate, right? I've noticed this myself. I've tried to go to the gym at like midday or in the afternoon off no food whatsoever, like literally 15 minutes into the session, like the performance has gone down massively, right? So my recommendation is always 1 to 2 hours beforehand, maybe 2 hours, 3 hours beforehand if you're training legs, if it's going to be one of those really intense sessions. But most of the time it doesn't necessarily need to be, oh, well, it has to be carbs or it has to be proteins and fats. It's usually up to you and what will allow you to perform at your best, right? I have noticed that for me, I like to save more of my carbs for later on in the day, and I perform the best when I have proteins and fats, usually in the morning, okay? So that is that. And then sessions should be around 45 minutes to 75 minutes. Now this is completely dependent upon the type of session. So maybe if you're doing a full body session, or it's one of those sessions that maybe you're only training 3 times per week. And if you're only training 3 times per week, you can get away with doing more volume in those sessions because you're training less frequently. Whereas if you're training more frequently, 5 times per week, maybe you're the type of person who wants to do 6 times per week, the length of those sessions should be a little bit shorter because you don't want to be overdoing the amount of volume. Right? So usually on average mine tend to be an hour, and it's funny how it's just got to the point where I won't even need to check the time, but I'll be able to feel like, okay, I'm pretty sure because of the way my body feels right now, an hour has passed. And I look at my phone and boom, an hour has passed. That tends to be the sweet spot. To this day, when people tell me they spend 2 hours in the gym, even 3 hours in the gym, I'm like, what are you actually doing inside of the gym? Like, there's no reason for you to be training there for 2 to 3 hours. Now I get it. Maybe if you like to do, an extended warm up and do your cardio before or some stretches before for 15, 20 minutes, whatever. But you don't need to be spending that amount of time warming up, right? Unless you're literally training in a fucking fridge and you need to really get your muscles warmed up. Most of the time you don't need to do that. The stretching or anything else that you might be doing, you can do it afterwards, but for me, I like to go in and out and just get it done. Focus on building the muscle when you're in the gym and you're lifting weights. Any additional cardio or stretching or anything like that, do it at another point in the day. Next few points, breathing, extremely important, okay? So, sorry, I just got distracted by a big booty Latina. I'm only kidding. Focus on your breathing, okay? So whenever you're training, what I do now is that I'm actually doing the repetitions based on my breath. I used to be really strict at following specific tempos, but now I let the tempo be dictated by my breath, okay? So usually, breathe in through the nose, breathe out through the mouth. Okay, in every single rep, you should be getting a good deep hit of air, oxygen, okay? If you hold your breath, it will lead to you gassing out because you're not feeding the muscles, okay? Take ownership of your performance. If you do not take ownership of your performance, you can't be blaming other people. You can't be blaming. This is one of the reasons why I love the gym so much, because it's all completely within my control. And you have to understand that. When you go to the gym, when you train, everything is literally within your control. You are going to be the one that will dictate how effective a session is, okay? Don't blame it on other people. Every inch of every rep matters, okay? Full range of motion. Focus on not necessarily the set overall, but the quality of every single repetition within that set. Like, I'm literally in focused Jedi mode when I'm doing my reps. Like, the eyes go into the back of my head. I'm that focused and locked in. Every rep has to count. I actually get annoyed when I do a shitty rep. Maybe I won't even counter if it's that much of a shitty rep. And then mechanical tension, probably the most important thing that is going to dictate your rate of muscle growth. You need to apply tension from the weight onto the working muscle, right? Structuring your week, no more than 3 days of consecutive training, especially if you're training hard. So after the 3rd day, if you are training 5 times per week, take a rest day, right? Even if you wake up the next day and you want to train, I would always recommend having a rest day, because the 4th or 5th consecutive session that you do is just going to go downhill in quality. Rest after a bad sleep, or do some cardio. So this is quite important, because usually there's 1 day in the week or 2 days in the week where you don't sleep as good, or you're stressed out, or that you just have a lot of stuff going on in that particular day. Usually when I have those days, I will do the less intense workouts, particularly if I had a bad night's sleep. If for whatever reason I had a bad night's sleep, then I just will not lift weights that day, and I'll do some mobility, cardio, or core work instead. And then almost always, after a bad night's sleep, I have a great night's sleep, then I'll do the most demanding session of the week, which is usually legs. As I said, save that for the peak days. Now, for those that missed the call yesterday, the Aesthetic Blueprint is now live in the app. So this is a 12-week program which I've designed for you guys to get shock, the most aesthetic physique. So this is everything which I have learned over the past couple of years in particular when it's come to me programming a lot of the splits inside of the app, but trying them for myself, okay? I've put together the most optimal split for you guys based on whether you want to train 5 days per week, 4 days per week, or 3 days per week. Okay, so the one which I'll be doing, which I am personally going to be starting tomorrow, is the 5-day split. This is a brand new push-pull legs, upper lower. 2 phases. First week, 1 to 6. And then we're going to phase 2, week 7 to 12, which is another brand new split. So just keep in mind, each one of these is going to give you results. Even if you can only commit to 3 sessions per week, it's going to get you results just as long as you stick to it and you're consistent with it every single week. Okay, so this is live now in the app. The app users who have it, hopefully you can get started as soon as possible. For those that don't have access to the app, now is your opportunity to get involved, because we have a super sweet offer on right now. Okay, so you have 12-month access to the app. You're also going to get weekly coaching calls with me. Now, this is something I have not done since I was in my 20s. Okay, and this is something which I'm only going to do for this next 12 weeks. I'm not doing it for the whole year. I'm only doing it for the next couple of months to help you guys. Because one of the biggest things which holds you guys back, without a doubt, is having someone that will hold you accountable. It's all well and good. You know, you start off with your routine, like most people do in January. They're like, yes, this year is going to be my year. I'm going to transform my physique. And you stick at it for a couple of weeks and then you fall off. Most of you fall off, right? Why do you fall off? Most of the time because you don't have someone that's going to hold you accountable. You need someone like me who's going to give you a little pep talk every week, right? Who's going to get you back in the game if you keep falling off. And particularly when it gets to the point where there is that confusion. Maybe you're not seeing the results you want to see. Maybe you're a little bit uncertain as to what foods you should be consuming or how you should adjust your macros to see that continued progress. Or maybe you're a little bit unsure as to how much cardio you should be doing. I'm the guy that's going to give you the guidance on that and to give you those helpful suggestions that will point you in the right direction so that you can continue to follow this split, knowing full well you're doing everything that you should be doing in order to see results. And of course, on these weekly calls, we're going to be having special guests. Okay, so like yesterday, Kevin Levrone, today, Ben Pakulski. We're going to have a lot of special guests, and of course, I have access to some of the best and wisest people in the game when it comes to being disciplined, being motivated, how to optimize performance, mindset, and also to just get in peak physique, right? These coaches are some of the best of the best. And only you guys who are inside of this coaching accelerator are going to get access to that. So if you want to get involved, check out the link in the description to take advantage of this opportunity, because it's going to be gone by tomorrow. Okay? So, questions. I'm going to ask a few questions. I'm not going to ask. I'm going to answer a few questions very quickly before Ben comes on. I have lots of questions for Ben. I know you guys do too. So, First question.
Do you prefer doing cardio after or before weights?
Always after. Always after, right? The problem is if you do the cardio before the weights, your body's already fatigued a little bit, right? Now, of course, maybe you're not going to be doing the most intense cardio, but you have been moving your body. You're probably mentally going to be a little bit bored because cardio is boring. So why would I want to start my session when my output potential has decreased and my mental focus has decreased. I want to start the session when they're both at their peak. Okay, so I do the most tasking things first, which is the gym, the lifting the weights. If I am going to do the cardio, I will do it either after the session or do it completely separate, like a different point in the day.
Mentioned that the link is pinned in the chat.
Link is pinned in the chat, guys. And for those people who, you got two options. If you're already a subscriber to the app, you can upgrade your current subscription to get access to this 12-week program on Accelerator. If you're not a subscriber to the app, you also got that direct link.
So sticking to one meal plan or tracking and staying flexible.
Say that again? Sticking to one meal plan or being flexible?
Yeah. Or still tracking but staying.
I think the problem is, I've always been a big fan of flexibility, but if you're too flexible and the tracking becomes a little bit too relaxed, then you don't necessarily know what should be done or adjusted in order to see progress. And it's going to be the case for those people who are experiencing progress quite slow. For those people that aren't seeing quick results, you just have to be a little bit more strict. Now, a good approach I tend to find works quite well is from Monday to Friday, when most people are in a pretty solid routine with work. You track very religiously. And then at the weekend, you can be more flexible. Okay, maybe you don't need to track. But I would still advise you to eat healthy. Okay, you can kind of guess it, eyeball it, and be like, okay, I still need to eat the same number of meals, but I don't need to be as precise. Maybe one night or 2 nights I can eat out, but I keep it clean still. I don't go on a binge and I don't have a massive cheat meal. Okay, big cheat meals are not good if you're trying to lose body fat.
How to join the accelerator if we are already in the app?
If you're already in the app, you should be able to get a link sent to your email, which will give you direct access to upgrade. I don't think it's in the chat. You have to check in the chat, but I think the link in the chat is just for new subscribers. So you need to check your email, and you should get a new link to upgrade.
What does a strong but tall, skinny looking guy do? Bulk or cut? I don't want to look more skinny if I cut, but also not more fat, so it's hard to decide.
A tall, what's this guy? A tall, strong, skinny guy. He needs to eat just above maintenance. So I mentioned yesterday, like, bulking is dead in my opinion. There's no need for you to be in a surplus of 250 to 500 calories per day, because you do that consistently. Yes, you build muscle, but you also start to accumulate a lot of fat, and then you get to the point where you get too fat and you need to go on a cut. So those people, I don't really think there's truly many hard gainers, okay? They probably are just not eating enough food. So if they just focus on maybe tracking, just understanding how many calories they're consuming on a day-to-day basis, just gradually taper it up a little bit. It should get to the point where your weight on the scales is going up, but ever so slightly, like 0.1, 2 kilograms per week, 0.1 to 0.2 per week. Anything more than that, I would be very cautious and be like, okay, this is a little bit too much weight too quickly.
How often would you recommend taking creatine?
Creatine every day, literally every day. Minimum of 5 grams. I've actually been experimenting with more, so my scoops are a little bit more heaped. There's some people who are now arguing that 15 grams of creatine can actually give you additional benefits, okay, with the whole cognitive function and brain health. But it is definitely one of the most studied supplements, and one of the most beneficial when it comes to you not only gaining weight, but also improving your performance and strength inside the gym. Now, for a long time, I didn't take it because I was convinced it was linked to hair loss, which is not proven. So halfway through last year, I got back onto it, and I noticed that it definitely gave me that little extra push when it came to lifting more in the gym. So it should be something, like if you're If your goal is to be aesthetic and look good, it's not necessary. But if your goal is to improve your performance in the gym and to help you to gain more weight, definitely take it.
What was the biggest training mistake you made early on that you would never repeat today?
Biggest training mistake. I think there was a few. First one, doing the bro split. I did the bro split for like 4 years. So I was doing one muscle group per session. Now, yes, it got me results, but it definitely was not the most optimal. And it led to me having quite a lot of imbalances. So there's absolutely no need for anybody to be following a bro split. It is fun, okay? Like, yes, go to the gym and just absolutely annihilate one muscle group, but it's absolutely not necessary. And you'll notice, like, halfway through a session, if you're training shoulders or arms, your performance will just completely drop off. It's overkill. All it does is build up unnecessary fatigue, whereby you're just going to spend the following few days recovering from that session because you just did so much damage during it, okay? And muscle damage does not correlate to growth. So the split I was following was a joke. I was not training legs nowhere near as frequently as I should have done. In fact, I was completely skipping it, to be honest. I was training legs like once every 2 weeks. So that was a mistake. And then the final one, I would say, just poor exercise selection. Poor exercise selection, and thinking more was gonna just give me more results.
How to overcome body dysmorphia?
Don't know, because I struggle with it massively. I think I'm a tiny little twig. I'm not kidding. I don't know. Body dysmorphia, I'm assuming that you're looking at yourself and you don't think you're, in good shape. I would probably just block people like me so you don't compare yourself to me. No. Body dysmorphia. That's a good question. I mean, it's not something I've really struggled with, to be honest. Like, I don't look at myself in the gym and ever feel like I'm too fat or I'm like not big. I think it can be something you need to be careful of if you're going to be always comparing yourself to absolute top tier athletes. Okay, all you can really do is just compare yourself to you, be the best version of yourself. And ultimately, that's what it's all about. Like, when I was growing up and I was in the gym, I never had one person that I wanted to look like. There was a few physiques that I was like, okay, they're cool physiques. But there was never one person I wanted to look like. It was like, okay, let me see what I can do for myself. And let me see, like, how I can get myself into the best possible condition without comparing myself to someone else.
Is your app for women too?
The app is definitely for females. I think there's four specific programs which I designed for females, which is literally going to give pretty much what every female wants, which is the curves in all the places that they want curves and strength, but not get them too bulky. So there's definitely more volume on lower body compared to upper body. I'm not getting them doing like, trap exercises and things like that, which is going to make them look like a friggin' CrossFitter. So they have been carefully designed to give women the curves that they want in the right places. But then this one as well, the aesthetic blueprint is something which can also be done by females. But if there's some exercises which you don't want to do, you can easily just switch them out. Okay, and that would really just be maybe trap exercises or some of the upper body exercises which you might want to replace with a lower body one.
How can I train legs twice a week when I cannot walk for 5 to 6 days after the leg session?
It's a good question. The reason, okay, so someone said, how can I train legs twice a week if I'm so sore after those leg sessions? Now, there's usually 2 reasons why you're too sore. It's because, first of all, you've been too inconsistent with leg training. So if you take an extended period of time off training legs, when you come back to train them, they're not accustomed to that style of training. So they tend to be sore for a lot longer. Okay, and then once you get back into the routine of training them again, the number of days that you're sore is going to be a lot less. And it's also down to the programming. So if you are sore for 5 to 6 days after a leg session, you did too much. You did far too much. As in, you did too much volume. You did too many sets. what you need to do, and this is the case I will do sometimes if for whatever reason I've had a period of time off training legs. I go to train legs, but I will maybe only do 2 or 3 exercises. And then I go and do some upper body exercises as well. Okay, so this is when, if you're following a full body program, anybody that trains full body never really experiences soreness because they haven't done so much volume on 1 or 2 particular muscle groups. Yet, the full body routine can still deliver results because you're still doing, adequate number of working sets and volume throughout the week. So for those people that do experience the soreness, the programming needs to change. You need to stop going to the gym and just fucking annihilating like one particular muscle group. You spread it out. Okay, so you do those for example, if you're going to go to do legs, 1 session in the week, it's going to be very intense and you'll probably be sore for a couple of days afterwards. Whereas if you split those exercises up throughout the week and did it 3 times per week, I guarantee you wouldn't experience the soreness. Okay, so that's generally an approach which I would suggest. When you build it up to training legs twice per week, like me, you might be sore for a day or 2, if that, but then you're good to go after 4 or 5 days again. Any other questions?
I want to do the year subscription, but at what time or day is the group call going to be? Because I sometimes work in the evening.
So the group calls are going to be every Monday, because Monday is a good day for me, evening time, but they are going to be recorded. So if you're in the Coaching Accelerator and you miss a particular call, you have the opportunity to watch the video again and also to ask questions beforehand. So any questions that you have for me, I'll personally answer them. So you'll get your question answered and you get the opportunity to watch it back again. But Monday will be the day. Thank you guys for the questions. Get your questions ready for Ben. I have a lot of questions for Ben. I don't know if you guys watched the podcast I did with him when we were in Miami, which was last March. It went down very well. I think it was well over 100,000 people watched that podcast. And it was one of the more interesting ones for sure, which I did last year. So, very smart guy. He was the guy that introduced me to the technical term of tension, applying tension onto a working muscle. I think I was 24 at the time. And every time I'd go to the gym, I never really thought about how I was lifting weights. I was just like, oh, let me just move the weight. And then when I was introduced to the concept of applied tension to a working muscle, I was like, oh, okay, this is something I've never thought about before. And it completely changed the way that I was training, particularly when I was training legs. Like all of a sudden now, whenever I would, or back then, when I started going into my training leg sessions, I would be like, okay, so there's particular exercises I need to do and just use my hamstring, for example, or just use my glutes, not try and spread out the tension throughout the entire leg.
So that's looking at.
Is he here? He's here. Where's the screen? Is it on the Zoom?
What's up, everybody?
Yes.
Here, Mike.
I can hear
you guys got my audio?
Yep, all good.
All right.
How are you?
Good shit, man. I'm really good, Dan. How are you? Where are you in the world, Dubai?
Yeah, Dubai. It's 11 p.m. here, but I'm very hyped to be doing this and having this conversation.
Still grinding.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm in LA. It's 11 a.m. Just finished a good workout at Gold's. I was actually going to go just do the workout or to do the talk at Gold's, but came home and jumped on the big PM.
Yeah, it's pretty hectic in there. How is it? Is it still super busy? I went there in August.
No, man. It's the LA Fit Expo weekend, so it's a busy weekend. There's a lot of people in town, but it's still a lot of places to do. It's a massive place. Just go outside and hang out in the sun,
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Nice.
How are you, man? How's life?
Life is good. Obviously, it's January. Everyone's on the fitness hype. I've obviously set new goals for myself, so I like it, to be honest. I mean, as enjoyable as December is, I kind of wanted to get it over with so everyone just gets serious and starts living in my world and gets on track with their training and everything. So
what are your goals, Mike?
Mine, we've got a few. I spoke about this yesterday when I was doing part one of this call. There was two main fitness goals, and that was one of them was improving cardiovascular fitness, because especially since I've been doing a lot of lower volume training for the second half of last year, I just noticed that I was actually burning fewer calories during the session, because
Yep.
there was just less working sets, there was more rest, and I was able to maintain the physique, but I was like, wow, I'm just like not pushing myself and working on my endurance and training my heart. So that was one thing. Mobility is always a weak point for me. Not that I'm necessarily the most immobile person, but I'm looking at everything now from a point of health and longevity, and just thinking,
Yeah.
so I'm the strongest and like healthiest and best looking I feel that I have ever been. But how do we keep this going long into the future, into the
Yeah.
40s? You know, I don't even know what the 50s will
In
hold.
40s. I wouldn't do it. I wanted to into my 80s. You know, being out here at Gold's, training with Michael Hearn, who's 57, training with Mike Ryan, who's 59, and these guys are unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
So my goal now is to be an athlete when I'm 80, and that's really shifted my perspective on things. And so when you say your goal is to improve cardiovascular fitness, when you say your goal is to improve mobility, so is it so that you can be better when you're 40? I was going to ask, the follow-up question was, why is that important? So what's the driver?
Yeah, so the mobility is mostly injury prevention.
Yeah.
Because obviously the older you get, any kind of injury, I just don't want any setbacks. I don't want anything to interrupt my training. I just want to continue to just wake up and feel great. And then the cardiovascular thing is more so just an insurance policy to ensure that I can maximize longevity and quality of life.
Sure. How old are you, Mike?
35.
Yeah, man, you're gonna be looking, feeling your best at 45, 50. Like, we have such amazing technology now. I say to everybody, obesity is gone. Like, in 10 years, there's not gonna be a single obese person in the world, unless they just simply don't care. But if anyone wants to get in shape, there's no more like, oh, I can't, I don't know how, I don't have control over my impulses. That's gone. I think joint pain and muscle tightness is gone. Peptides are going to cure that. I think our knowledge when it comes to training is going to be exponentially higher, especially when people start living in alignment with their genetics. So the big thing that I've shifted, I think we talked about this in your podcast, is like helping people live in alignment with their genes. Training should no longer be arbitrary, meaning the volume you train, the type of training you're implementing is really, really genetically predetermined. Like, your body's really good at certain things and really bad at certain things. And if you can live in alignment with your genes, I think you're going to be more effective. Now, that doesn't mean you don't push your body, but I'll give you an example. Like, I've significantly cut down my training volume, and my inflammatory numbers are perfect. Whereas my whole life, I was just like hammering my body. And so my inflammatory numbers, even if I eat perfectly, even if I'm super lean, was just elevated because I don't genetically process inflammation well. So as soon as I see that genetically, now I can live in alignment with my genes. And now my epigenetic markers are getting better. My inflammatory markers are perfect. Like so here's an easy way to think about this, Mike. The fitness world is fascinated with inputs. And what that means is, I got my workout done. I did the cold plunge. I did the peptides. I did the hormones. Those are inputs. Those are things I can do to hopefully make a change. What we should be fascinated with is outputs. Like, how do we actually measure the productivity, the outcome? So, like, what is my body fat? What is my strength? What are my blood work markers saying? What are my epigenetic markers saying? And we look at those things, and those are objective measures of progress or of effective inputs. So I think our world is fascinated with inputs. We're like, I just got to do more. Like, I got to read the book. So how many of you have read a book and got to the end of it and got no idea what I read, right? So you're measuring, like, but I read the book, but that's not the goal. The goal is to read the book, acknowledge and absorb the information, and apply it in your life. Unless you're applying it in your life, the input is useless, right? You just literally wasted 8 hours of your life to read a book instead of actually getting something useful out of it. I think so many people in this world are fascinated with inputs and their workouts. I got the workout in, bro, but they're not changing. They're not getting the result. Their body looks the same. Their body feels the same. They're declining more and more. Their joints are deteriorating. Their internal health metrics are off. I'm like, what's the point? Like, why are you even wasting your time? Like, why, if you're going to invest the time, you must get something out of it, in my opinion. And because of technology and certainly intelligence growing just so rapidly, like, there's no reason why people shouldn't be getting remarkable results.
Yeah. Do you think there's one common thing that is occurring when people are just not seeing the results that they want and they're just frustrated with no change? I mean, obviously it can be a whole
No.
host of different things, but is there one
Yeah,
that?
but it's not one. No, it's not one, man. It's this idea of like everyone. So people look at you, man. feel beautiful body, you're a healthy guy, you're fit. You're like, well, cold plunges worked really well for me, or this peptide worked really well for me. Someone goes, well, Mike Thurston's amazing, and I want to look like Mike. Somebody likes it, but my genetics are different than yours, and we're not doing things to live in harmony with our body. And so there's internal health metrics that look like genetics, certainly, because my body does things well and other things poorly. And there's blood markers and urine analysis, and stool analysis, and all these other internal health metrics that should determine our interventions, which is we should be training with and eating and supplementing with precision instead of just like these blanket, like I'm gonna do more. Like more, if more is your only solution, you're living in the 80s, man. Like more is not the solution. More is important when going in the right direction, but if you're going in the wrong direction, doing more and more like me, for example,
Hmm.
when I was training, I'm just getting I love to train, man. I'll train 6 hours a day. I love it. I'm hearing goals and training 2, 3 times a day. My volume is very low, and I know my body's going to leave here feeling inflamed. But if I do that chronically over 20 years, now all of a sudden my joints start to break down. All of a sudden my blood glucose starts to creep up a little bit because of that chronic inflammation, and that's what's going to accelerate the aging process. So my goal for 2026, even though you didn't ask, is to reverse my biological age. So I've been doing this a lot with my clients, and it's remarkable. You see guys reversing their biological age by 15 to 20 years by simply living in alignment with their genetics. And I think that this is the wave of the future, man. We're going to know it's the concept of the digital twin, right? It's what's happening inside of your body. We can put that into a digital signature and be like, hey, if I give Mike vitamin C, if I give Mike cold plunges, if I give Mike statins, I know what's going to happen before I give it to you. Like, oh, that's not a good intervention. Use this one instead. And the health professional, the health expert of the future is all about precision. Like it's going to be precision medicine. It's going to be precision peptides, precision performance.
So
Yeah.
if we take in like age groups, so if we're talking like 20-year-olds to 30-year-olds, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, like is there certain things which people should be doing in their 20s versus their 30s? Because I know there's obviously the importance of the genetic testing and the blood work, but is it something
Sure.
which should be done as a teenager or someone in
Yeah.
their 20s, or do you look at that when you get into your 30s?
No, man, I think what I would wish I would have done in my 20s is established a baseline. So the goal when I'm 44, about to be 45. And so the goal when I'm 45, and the goal when I'm 50, and the goal when I'm 55 is to measure against my 21-year-old self, right? So like my 21-year-old self is when my hormones were amazing, my tissue quality was amazing, my internal health was amazing, my strength was amazing. And so I've created this scoreboard, this sort of dashboard of, and it's tested against men your age, where it's like 45 metrics that we should all be testing. So it's strength metrics, some of them are body weight metrics, some of them are waist to height ratio, some of them are cholesterol metrics and HRV, and there's a whole bunch of things on there that allow anyone of any age to objectify the most important things that longevity says are the most important things to measure against your personal best. And the earlier you start measuring these things, the more you get a baseline. Ultimately, you can measure against your age cohort or you can measure against yourself. If you have a 21-year-old best, like, hey, this is where I was when I was 21. Well, good. Now your goal over the next 50 years is to maintain that at least to the best of your ability, right? If you start testing when you're 40, you've already had so much decline. It's sort of hard to know, like, where can I be? Where could I be? Where should I be? And I think that's a lot of things people are asking. So my encouragement to young people is like, one, train as hard as you can now because you can tolerate so much until you're, at least until you're 30, 35. Your tolerance for everything is great. After 35, you start to be like, I need to be more precise. I need to be specific because you can't get away with this much. And like my goal is to be as good as I was when I was 21 now. I'm certainly not there, but I think I'm on the right track. And I feel, the best every year I feel better than I did the previous, which is telling me a lot. My markers are better, my epigenetic signatures are better. So, we're making the right interventions. And I think there's a lot of really amazing people leading the way, helping us understand what the most useful intervention is. So my suggestion to the young people to answer your question in a simple way is just whatever you do, test the most important metrics and just keep a baseline. Test yourself every year on your birthday and see how you compare to the previous year.
Yeah. What do you think about, for example, Brian Johnson, who's probably got the most notoriety when it comes to the guy who's trying not to die and is doing all these experimental things with his body?
Yeah.
Is there any protocols which he is promoting or suggesting that you generally don't agree with?
No, man, I love Brian. I think he's doing incredible things in the world. And whether or not his stuff works for you is a completely different question, right?
Hmm.
And I think, Mike, your genetics are so unique And everyone's genetics are so unique. So why would we logic that I should follow the same approach Brian Johnson did? You're like, success leaves clues for sure. So there's probably some version of what he's doing that can be adapted and manipulated for you. But gosh, like, how do you know that that diet's going to be best? Like, everyone's got different digestive genetics. Everyone's got different hormonal genetics. Everyone's got different stress genetics. Everyone's got different body fat genetics. And you're like, well, why would I follow the same thing as this guy who's completely different ethnicity, lives in a different part of the world, different lifestyle, different stress, different environment? Like, it makes no sense. Yet all these, pseudo experts are saying, "Hey, you got to do this, and you got to do this." I'm like, well, how do you know? What have you actually tested? So the future research is all going to be N of one, right? So right now, the best we can do in highest level cutting edge research is like we find these cohorts and we do these double blind studies and like, hey, this is really great. Person doesn't know, that's awesome. But I think the research of the future is going to be integrating your genetics, your blood, your urine, your stool, your epigenetics into a digital system that goes, this is what you need today, Mike. You're going to pick your finger, and it's going to say, hey, man, your body's lacking this vitamin. You should eat more of this food, and this is the workout you should do today. Like, that's the future. And we're not that far off from that. Like, if we're more than 3 to 5 years away from that, I would be unbelievably surprised. I think it may even be sooner. The price is obviously going to start expensive and come down just like everything, but man, I think that's the future. And I think people should just recognize that, stop mindlessly following what other people do and start like being your N of one, being your own personal test and say like, yeah, that felt really good for me or that didn't. And to do that, people need to connect deeply with their body, right? You need to be like, hey, what do I actually feel? Is it actually working? Is it not working? And so many people are so disconnected from their body. Maybe I feel good, maybe I don't really know. That would be my sort of first step, is like increase awareness, increase presence,
Yeah.
connecting deeply to your body, understand what's actually working.
Yeah, I think that's very important because there tends to be quite a lot of people who are just not self-aware and they're not listening to their body or even experimenting with different approaches and seeing, okay, is that working? How am I feeling after that? Because
Right.
even I myself, there's people in this industry who I look up to and I respect, and then every now and then they'll just be so adamant about a particular approach of doing something, and I'm like, I really respect this guy and he knows his
Gotta
stuff.
try.
But when I
Sure.
when I try this thing, I feel like it just doesn't work for me. And some people
Right.
don't necessarily have that confidence to be like, okay, well maybe I'm better off trying a different approach. But they may just
Yeah.
continue to do what this other person says because that's the person who knows everything apparently. So there is this
Yeah.
there's
So-
definitely a need to be more self-aware and to look internally.
And the only thing in science that's truly objective is physics. And so that's physics is like it's like measurements, it's like what and so when I say physics, what I'm referring to specifically is biomechanics. So the thing that's most objective in all of science is actually biomechanics because it's measurements, right? Like my insertion is here, my origin is here. This weight weighs exactly this much when it's moving this fast. So exercise objectively, or is actually the most objective thing we have in all of performance science. Everything else is subjective because it's contextually relevant. What that means is everyone's physiology is different. Like your physiology today, Mike, is going to be different than your physiology when you're in a different part of the world. Like if you're in the UK versus Dubai, you're going to shift. There's epigenetic changes that are happening. There's hormonal changes that are happening. There's circadian rhythms that are shifting. So you have to understand that those things are going to be dynamic. And we didn't understand that 10 years ago, right? Technology shifted so much and testing has shifted so much and artificial intelligence has accelerated the rate of learning so much that we have so much more information. And I think it's a gift. It's going to be confusing for people in the beginning. So the sooner you can learn to test instead of guess, the faster you're going to get to the ultimate protocol for yourself.
Yeah. Now, there's some people, I'm going through some of the questions which have been asked from my audience. Some people who have noticed and experienced that as you get older, it gets noticeably harder for some people to maintain a lower level of body fat percentage. Now, is this something which
Sure.
just
So
generally,
let's talk about that.
does it
Yeah,
happen?
let's talk about that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, well, so how do we objectify it, right, Mike? So people like to make these general statements. Well, I'm going to objectify, like what's actually happening when you're gaining body fat. So chances are, as you get older, maybe you're not moving as much because maybe your activity levels are less, maybe because you're sitting at a desk, maybe you're busier, so you're moving a little less. And when you're moving a little less, maybe your mitochondria aren't as effective. Maybe you're not getting as much sunlight anymore. Maybe you're not getting the same food. Maybe you're just like cheating a little bit, you eat pretty well, but you're cheating a little bit. All of those things negatively impact your mitochondria's ability to produce energy to ultimately oxidize fat. And I'm like, oh, interesting. So even though I'm like, okay, it's because I'm getting older. It's not because I'm getting older necessarily. There's going to be some level of decline just by being alive because of all the exposure to toxins and oxygen and these things. Just there's natural degradation of the system, but it doesn't have to be steep. Our objective is to say, well, what are those things that are actually slowing me down? So if I know, gosh, I don't move as much as I used to, well, change it. If I don't get as much light as I used to, change it. And that's why this is sort of what this whole biohacking space is, even though I hate the name. It's like, hey, we're understanding that hey man, you need to move more. You need more light. You need to eat a little bit less. And it's not even eat less. It's like just make sure you're not eating more than you should be. Make sure you're moving a little bit more to make sure your mitochondria are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Make sure you're training intensely. So if we look at the lens of longevity through two specific things: one, mitochondrial health and function; two, inflammation. And the third one I would say is maybe the autonomic nervous system. But let's say two for the argument here. Those things, if you just pay attention to like how are mitochondria working and actually like take a mitochondrial lens through all of your decisions, like mitochondria are light-based organelles, which means as they produce energy, they also emit light. And they're really, really receptive to the light in the environment. So the more time you spend with your shirt off, the more you're going to be you're like a battery pack from the sun, which is unbelievably important to help you produce more energy. Well, that's great. And how about inflammation? Well, I'll say this before we go into inflammation. Movement is like charging those little batteries as well. So we need to move more. We need more sun exposure. We need less things that are going to harm against our mitochondria, which is poor foods, alcohol, toxins. So we need to protect our mitochondria from those things that are ultimately destroying them. And then inflammation, and it's going to drive up inflammation in your body. It's going to slow down mitochondrial function. It's going to slow down cellular communication. So like an oversimplified view for everybody is make best friends with your mitochondria, understand what the hell they are, what they do, and then support them in everything you possibly can. So anyway, I'll give you the examples of what that is. And then inflammation, most people know what that is. And the thing I think where people fall off is they don't understand that even the best foods in the world, like I could literally go to the best organic markets in the best place in the world, which is literally how I eat every day. But if my digestion or my microbiome is dysfunctional or dysbiotic, it doesn't matter how good the quality of food is I eat. I'm going to drive inflammation in my body. So everything starts with digestion thing right now. Like, hey man, if you're on a journey to improve your body fat levels over 40, make sure your gut is fixed because you're not driving your testosterone is not going up if your gut is dysfunctional. It's a fact. Like if your gut is dysfunctional, your inflammation is going to be up, your cortisol is going to be up, your testosterone is going to be down. Fact. So like start there, man. If your digestion is broken, don't worry about spending all your money on the best quality foods yet. Like fix your gut. If your sleep is broken, you got to fix your sleep. So like there's generally 6 things that I advise everybody to jump into. Like as soon as you start a health and fitness plan, like fix these 6 things first, because what you're doing is you're fixing the trajectory of your progress. So instead of thinking about like, I want to get there by March 1st and I got to be shredded, and you're like, man, you have no idea. I would just fix the internal health of your body first, because the way you look on the outside is a direct reflection of what you feel like on the inside, or what you're operating like on the inside. So fix the internal health and the body will start to change.
What tends to be the most common cause of a dysfunctional gut? Is it just eating
Poor
gut?
food quality.
Yeah.
Yeah, poor food quality, eating at the wrong times, eating when you're stressed, alcohol and drugs. Yeah, toxins in our food is just crazy, like glyphosate and things that are like these pesticides that are ultimately killing your digestive tract. Any type of antibiotics will destroy your gut. Eating when you're stressed is a really big one. I think we're in this constant state of stress. Most people are overstressed, they're overstimulated, taking too many things, stimulants, and then training, and then I got to get a big meal in, and that. So when you're stressed, this sympathetic aspect of the nervous system, you're in this fight or flight state, and digestion shuts off. So if I throw a bunch of food down my throat, if I'm stressed or just trained something, that food literally sits there. It doesn't do anything. It can start to putrefy if you don't have great gut microbiome, great acid, great enzyme production. It just sits there. And what happens if it sits there? It putrefies. It starts to produce gas. It starts to bloat you. It starts to make you feel inflamed. It starts to cause diarrhea, constipation, and that drives up leaky gut, which drives up something called LPS, lipopolysaccharide, which drives up inflammation. So like we got to start there, man. And like, so what do we do to fix our gut? Well, stop doing the dumb shit that you know is going to cause a problem, and then start eating more diverse plant foods. Like that's pretty simple. It's a vast oversimplification, but like stop doing the dumb things that you know are going to hurt you. alcohol, drugs, pharmaceuticals, toxic foods, even, I'm not dogmatic against things like gluten and grains, but gluten and grains for most people are going to cause some type of gut distress. They're going to cause some type of inflammation, even some dairy for some people. Not all people, but some. It's just not a good idea, man. So I would say just eliminate all that stuff first, fix your gut, and then, and only then, can you start on this path for health. And if your gut health is amazing, great. Go to step two. But if it's not, don't even bother. Go to step two. Like fix your gut first.
Yeah. Are you along the mindset of not consuming meals 3-4 hours before bed, or do you have a different approach? I think I saw a post where you
You know,
said 80% of your nutrition is coming in before 2 p.m. and then you'll
yeah,
consume carbs
yeah.
after that.
It's just different, man. Yeah, it's different. Like so, as a guy who's 44, one of my top priorities is like I need to sleep every night. I need to sleep well every night. What I noticed unequivocally is if I stop food, well, at least 4 hours before bed, I sleep exponentially better. So I sleep 8 hours straight. I don't wake up. I get great deep sleep numbers. You should be getting at least 90 minutes of deep sleep, ideally 2 hours. You should be getting at least 90 minutes of REM sleep, ideally 2 hours every night. And if I eat even 2 hours before bed, my sleep is going to be less. So is this the right solution for everybody? No. If you're in a phase of your life where you're trying to grow, trying to build muscle, training really, really hard, like maybe it's not realistic for you to not eat 4 hours before bed. That's fine. But for me, it's always about trade-offs. And like if I eat late, sometimes I do, I know I'm going to sleep less.
Yeah.
If I sleep poorly, I'm going to wake up the next day feeling poorly. So I really want to make sure for me that not eating 4 hours before bed is best case scenario. And like, I don't always do it. I'm on the road right now. We're shooting some content on LA. Like, man, there's some days, like last night we ate 90 minutes or 2 hours before bed, and I still slept okay, but it's not as good as if I, like generally my best case scenario is I wake up, I train, I eat, I do some work, 2-3 hours. My second meal is by 11 or 12, and I've had, as I say, like 80 or 90% of my calories before 12 or 1. And the end of the day, I'll just have a small meal, like a light salad and some protein with my family. So I'm always eating with my family, and I'm done. So I eat lots in the morning, big meals. Like you just finished a meal. I had a pound of venison, a ton of like cabbage coleslaw from Erewhon here in LA, and a bunch of beets and some like other nuts and stuff and berries. It's a massive meal, but I'll do that twice, and I'm kind of done for the day.
Yeah, One is amazing. It's just a shame that
The
it's
best.
only out in the West Coast, I think, at the moment. I think they're going to open in New York
Yeah.
soon. There was talk about that, but I guess this is also an issue as well in certain areas. It may be harder to have access to the best quality foods, but I guess it just means you just got to work a little bit harder and
Yeah.
ensure that it's going to be there. Like if you can't order when you're
Man,
yeah.
most cities have a farmer's market. If it's a big city. And like the first thing I do is I get my EA. I'm like, hey, find the farmers market. If they can go for me, they go. If not, I go by myself. As soon as I land, I'm buying like the best local vegetable, the best local meat that I can. And like people are like, oh, it's expensive. Like, yeah, but if you're not going and spending money at fast food restaurants, you're gonna save a lot of money. And like, it's your health. So I'm like, I spend more money on my nutrition than literally anything else. So yeah, it's a really important thing. So simply farmers markets, man. Like you can find great eggs, you can find great meat, you can go find great honey, you can find great cheeses, you can find great breads. Like you find everything you need, man. I go once a week, and if I spend 300-400 bucks, it's my food for the week.
Tell me this, because I know you're a high performer and you have a hell of a lot going on. So I just maybe you do it, but I can't imagine you personally prepping all your meals. Is it something you do? Because I
I
don't
do,
have the
yeah.
patience for that anymore.
So man, I've created a system, and sometimes I'm a little bit I'm a little OCD, I guess, and I don't like other people doing it wrong. So I've created a system where most of my meals take under 7 minutes to prepare, beginning to end. So I probably prepare maybe a third of my meals, maybe half, but the rest of them other people are preparing. But sometimes in a rush, like this morning, I was like, hey man, I got a few minutes. I want to make a quick meal. So I knew I had fresh ground venison in the fridge. So I took out a pound of ground venison. I bought some prepared salads from Erewhon. I was like, venison, salad, go. And it literally took me under 7 minutes. So usually I'll prepare the vegetables myself, but I just had some in the fridge left over from yesterday. So I was like, well, let's just use those ones. And that's it. So it's like really high quality meat source, protein source, and then at least 2 to 3 different vegetables, always organic, highest quality I can find. And there's specific ones I like to eat and specific ones I like to avoid, but that's just personal preference. And I eat as many different diverse vegetables as I can in a day. I'm usually eating probably 10 to 12 different vegetables in a day. intentionally going out of my way to find those vegetables. Like, I don't always get that. Let's get that one. Because I know it's going to provide different types of microbes, it's going to provide different types of nutrients, it's going to provide different, just nutrient profile for the body.
Yeah. Okay, so a question which I've had by, there's quite a few people actually, is they have come into the game a little bit later than they would have liked to. So say, for example, they might be embarking on their fitness journey and going to the gym and actually lifting weights for the first time, and they're in their late 30s, early 40s. Now, for these people, is their rate of progress going to be slower in comparison to somebody who has started in their late teens, early 20s? And is it possible if, let's say, for example, somebody starts at 40 years old, can they achieve a pretty damn impressive physique in a couple of years by the time they're like 45 or something?
Man, I think it's a gift to start late because you have less bad habits to break. And like, you know this, man, like if someone's got the right attitude, I always say to my kids, man, there's two things in life you get to control. It's the same for adults. You get to control your attitude and your effort. And so you come in and you have a great attitude and you're giving effort, you're going to have exponential progress because most people have a terrible attitude and they're lazy as shit. So if you guys can get your attitude right, and like, hey man, I'm here to do it. I'm ready to do whatever it takes and have a great attitude about it. And I'm working as hard as I possibly can and recognizing you're capable of so much more than you think. Your results can be exponentially greater than you believe. People are capable of so much more than they realize. They just don't know the right steps, or maybe their mindset is limiting them. And so surround yourself with people who believe in you, surround yourself with people who push you, surround yourself with people who can give you the systems and steps to be your best, because it exists, man. It's not hard, I promise. It may be uncomfortable at first, but it's not hard, right? So I always think of like, what is hard? What does that even mean? Well, like compared to what, man? Compared to people in third world countries, compared to people who are in the military, like no, nothing we do is hard, right? It may be challenging, great. Change your relationship with challenge. Like I want it to be challenging. I love challenge. Challenge makes me better. No, right? No pressure, no diamonds. So I'm like, man, I need to be challenged every day. And so should you. And this is a really important thing, man. So many people are psychologically overwhelmed, but physically underwhelmed, right? So my mind is like overwhelmed with stress and it's constant and it's always just in your head. You're like, I was cut off in traffic today and I got financial stress and I got relationship stress and I got kids stress and I got this going on, and the government's freaking me out. Like, all those things are psychological stressors.
Yeah.
And we have so much in our head and so little in our body. And that metabolic disconnect is what's ultimately causing a huge amount of problem with people. So evolutionarily, we should have, when we feel psychological stress, it should always be coupled with physical movement. You think like, thousands or maybe 10,000 or 100,000 years ago, what would have been stressful for your ancestors? It's like, well, I need to hunt because I'm hungry. We'll go do something. I need to forage for food because I'm hungry, or take care of my family. We need to move because it's getting cold or hot, or it's raining, or somebody's coming to hunt me, or I'm coming to kill me. I need to. So anything stressful was coupled with something physical. That's unbelievably important. So when you're psychologically stressed, you must train yourself to move your body, or train your body before you're psychologically stressed, because that's a super useful. It's why everyone who's successful has a great morning routine. It's like, man, you got to move because you prevent yourself from getting sucked into that psychological torment, that psychological overwhelm that most people are just getting killed by.
Have you got a particular case study from someone that you've worked with who's in their 40s, who's just completely transformed themselves and their physique to the point where they've had like a crazy physique?
I got so many, man. And so I work with a lot of people who I don't share their transformations. It's a lot of people who are like, they're private, they're living their private lives, they don't want to be, they're public personas, whatever. We've had so many people, even in their 50s, who I'm just like, so there's sort of two ways to go about this, right? There's the people who come in and they say, I'll do whatever you say. And those people get amazing results. But here's the problem with that. When they're done, they don't have the strength or the knowledge to be able to go out on their own and do it on their own. So those people stay with me for a very long time. They love it. We're good. But their results are amazing. They're incredible. But then there's these other set of people who are like, I'm not quite sure. I question things. I want to do my own things. I want to try some stuff. That can work too. That's more like, hey, I'm going to write the program for you. I'm going to write the diet for you. And I'm going to teach you along the way how to do it so that by the time our time together is over, you actually understand how to go out and do it on your own. That takes a little bit longer. We generally stretch out the timelines a little bit for those people so they can because I think what's important is not just getting the result; it's getting the result and being able to sustain it. Right?
Mm,
We've all got a result before, and then it only lasted one day. Right? Like, oh, I got down to 4% body fat for one day, and then 3 days later I was 8% body fat.
yeah.
Like we've all had that, so we don't want to do that. So teaching people how to sustain it is important. But man, I've got one guy this year, he's probably, I don't know, maybe now down to 10% body fat. He probably started 23. But the biggest thing is not his scale change, it's not even his body fat. The biggest and most remarkable transformation is his dynamic with his wife. And he said, B, what happened, man? When things used to get stressful in my family, everyone would turn to my wife. My kids would go to my wife because I was overwhelmed. I was anxious. I was someone they couldn't rely on. And they knew that because when things were hard, I would like stick my head under the sand. And he's like, you know what the biggest transformation I've had in the last 12 weeks is? It's like, now when shit hits the fan, my wife comes to me, my kids come to me, and they can see that I'm stronger because I move toward challenges instead of away from them. They're like, man, that's probably the greatest testimonial I could ever hear in my life. Like, I don't give a shit if you have a fucking six pack. Good for you. That's awesome. If that's all you focus on, the rest of your life is in shambles, that's not to me aspirational. Someone who's truly successful has every area of their life dialed, right? Like my family's great, my business is great, my finances are great, my health is great. That's the true measure of success. And so when this guy said to me, he's like, yeah, man, I look great. I'm, 10, 11%, but that's not why I'm happy. That just like, I was like, that's the transformation, man. That's the true win. And I think most men don't recognize that they're followers, they're losers, and that's not a shot at people, but like, man, you're capable of so much, but you accept so little of yourself. Raise your standards.
Yeah, I think it's so common that
Yeah.
there is a lot of guys who are high performers they've ticked off certain areas in their life, but there's other areas that are just in an absolute shambles.
Totally.
And for some people,
Totally.
it might be their health, it might be their physique. They could be millionaires, billionaires, but they've just completely neglected their health, and ultimately it comes back to pay the price in some way, shape, or form.
And dude, and it's okay, man. I was there too, right? Like when I was a bodybuilder, I didn't take care of other things. I was like so myopically focused. And that's okay, because as long as you acknowledge in the moment, you're honest with yourself, you're like, hey, you know what, I really sucked in this area, and I'm going to pull my socks up because you have the ability to change. So I'm not trying to belittle or condemn anyone's choices in the past. Like, who cares? As long as you're willing to fix it, like we have time and we have systems that can ultimately help you transform in every area of your life.
Yeah. Let's talk quickly about peptides, because I mean, that's been a hot topic over the past 6 months, year. Everybody seems to be talking about it, asking questions about it. What's your overall take on it? And would you recommend it, or would you say stay away?
I think peptides are changing the world. I really do. I'm a massive believer and advocate. The only asterisk I put beside that is like chances are you're sourcing shit. Like chances are your sourcing is very, very toxic. It's true. It's all coming from China. So there's many different ways that your quality of product can be diminished outside of just having a lower quality thing. So let's say it says you have 10 milligrams of retatrutide, and worst case or maybe best case scenario is you have 9 milligrams of retatrutide. It's a little underdosed. That's great, but it's all the other things that go in there that you don't even recognize that are causing huge problems. And I've had clients come to me who are like, hey man, I have mercury toxicity from taking peptides. I have people who have massive amounts of inflammation from taking peptides because peptides that have toxins in them, you can have heavy metals, you can have LPS. Those things are terrible in your body. And so some people take it and they get a reaction. Some people take it and they feel terrible. And you may not feel terrible immediately. It may take time. So peptides themselves, I think, are the most revolutionary medical advance we've had well, there's probably a lot, but certainly in the performance space, like there's not going to be people that are fat. We're going to completely reverse biological age. We're going to completely reverse muscle age. There's so much we can do to make people feel better. But I don't think we're there yet with like the sourcing, man. I think there's a lot of shady and sketchy sources, and even the ones that say they're made in America are not made in America. Generally, they're always just imported and they're white labeling. And man, if you see, and you know this, Mike, if you see the prices of things coming out of China, like they can't do it for that much. Like, and I give an example, like retatrutide here in North America is somewhere between $200 and $249 for 10 or 20 milligrams, doesn't matter. And you get them in China and they're $5. So you're like, what?
Yeah.
How do they? Like they can't do anything useful for $5. They're obviously, probably paying some young people to be in a lab that's probably not in any way, sterilized. So I'm like, I'm super sketchy, man. So I'm a massive advocate of peptides. I'm just not a massive advocate yet of having great sourcing. I think I found a couple. But again, those are really small, hard sort of to navigate, and they're exponentially more expensive. And everyone's like, I just want a deal, man. I just want a cheap one. I'm like, don't do it, man. It's the same when I was a professional bodybuilder, right? I was sort of at the tail end of actual pharmaceutical steroids as a bodybuilder. And then as I started toward the end of my career, everyone's using underground stuff. And I was like, I just want to use it. Like that was one of the reasons I retired, man. I don't share this a lot, but one of the reasons I retired is like I couldn't get things that were not someone's bathtub testosterone anymore. Testosterone was always easy because it was from my doctor. But if I wanted to find something else, it was always underground, man. And I'm like, I just refused to use it. So my doses kept going lower and lower and lower. And all of a sudden your placings start to change a little bit. And I'm like, I don't want to play this game of being, the youngest guy or, one of the guys who dies early. I'm like, I just don't want to do it. So that was a big reason why I quit bodybuilding. I was like, it's
Yeah.
just not worth it, man. And then you see a lot of guys dying. I don't think it's because of the steroids. Maybe it is, but there's so many things that go along with it,
Yeah, because especially out here in Dubai, I've got access to some pretty well connected people who are, they're well educated, they've got the contacts, and still I'm a little bit on the fence with experimenting with a couple of these things because I don't know where it's from necessarily. I don't know if it's the right thing that I should personally be taking. I know for sure there's some good ones out there, but it's still, even some of the people who I thought had a good reputation, when I actually dig a little bit deeper and ask around, I'm like, oh, actually, maybe don't trust
Well, yeah.
this person.
So here's the thing, man. Reputation isn't the thing you're playing because I trust the people I'm buying it from, but they don't know who they're getting it from. They don't know who they're getting it from. There's multiple layers in the chain that could be broken down. So the only way to know is you got to find a reliable testing source. And everyone's using Janashik, which is I think it's a Czech-based company, but I just found out recently they're taking money from people to fake tests. And you're like, well, how do I know? So there's another website called Finric, Finnrick. Maybe check that out. They tend to be pretty reliable, but like even then, you're like, who knows, man? If I were to give them a couple grand, I bet they would come up with any test result that I want, and you're like, well, how do I actually trust? So I actually recently found a friend who's in the cosmetic space, but does a lot of testing for cosmetics, and we can actually track down our own testing stuff, and it's a couple hundred grand, but like man, if I'm going to put stuff into my body, and I work with a lot of really high level athletes, I'm like, a couple hundred grand to save your life or to save you for your long-term health, like maybe it's worth it. Maybe I just like do it myself in my house. I'm like, I don't know. Thinking about it, man. I'm like, I'd rather, again, I think we'll get to the point though soon where real pharmaceutical companies are actually putting out real peptides.
Yeah. Okay. And then in terms for people who they don't want to step into the peptide world and they're just thinking of, okay, well, what basic supplements can I get to improve overall health, well-being, performance? Which ones would you suggest?
So, man, I guess I'm going to come back to the peptides before we move on. Do you want me to share like what peptides I think are useful for
Yeah,
people
yeah,
to explore?
yeah,
Yeah, I think most people would like to hear it, right?
yeah,
So the best way to think about this, just like we talked a few minutes ago, precision performance, you want to think about precision peptides. So the worst idea in the world is these blanket peptide protocols. It's like, oh, take this and this and this and this, and like, what are you actually trying to do? So instead of throwing random shit at the wall and seeing what sticks, you got to see what your body needs. So most people are going to have excessive amounts of inflammation. Well, we can address that. Many people are going to have mitochondrial dysfunction. We can address that. Many people are going to have sleep dysfunction. We can address that. Many people are going to have obesity or impulse control challenges. We can address that too. So you're like, which specific challenge are we trying to address first? So rather than me spewing protocols, I'm like, well, first identify what the thing is you want to fix. So it's a mitochondrial function. Like, hey man, my energy is really low. I'm sort of sluggish. My body fat's accumulating really fast. Like, okay, well, why is your body fat accumulating fast? Is it accumulating fast because you're overeating? Well, then we need something for impulse control. So maybe that's a retatrutide. If your body fat's accumulating because you don't move enough, well, maybe your mitochondria, you don't get sunshine. Well, maybe your mitochondria need a little repair. So maybe we use some SS31. If your mitochondria is a little sluggish, you feel like you're not producing energy, you feel like you're walking through mud, maybe we go at some MOTS-C. SLUPP332 is another amazing mitochondrial peptide. So those four together is like the ultimate mitochondrial stack, not always done together, right? We can do those in sequence, we can do those separately, but those are the primary four when it comes to mitochondrial function, all of which have amazing science behind them, really, really efficacious. I've tried them all personally and I get great results. Now, I can't say definitively that they're not going to cause some weird disease, some weird cancer in 10 years, because not all of them have been around that long. So like, how do we know? In fact, SLUPP may be the most interesting one of all, because it's actually created in a lab in the US. Any of these things are, like they're naturally occurring enzymes or peptides in the body, and we just sort of increase the level. Like MOTS, for example, is one of these naturally occurring in the body. It declines as we age, and it declines in people who, go on diets, and people who are obese have lower levels. And so we put it back in, like, oh, geez, now my body's better burning through fat and producing energy. Well, that's interesting. But SLUPP, I don't actually remember the exact study, but I know it's a very reputable lab. I want to say it's like Kansas or something. No, I forget. It's I forget what university it is, but I'll remember in a minute. But like really, really reputable lab creating a useful, reputable product. Like look it up if you guys want to do some research. Look up SLUPP 332, find the origin of it, what lab it was created in. Again, I'm not thinking of it, but the utility behind it is remarkable, and like maybe one of the most useful things in the last 20 years, but it's so new and there's so little research. Like, well, maybe there's huge benefit, but who knows what the downside is in 5 years because it's only been around for a couple of years.
Is that
So
not
you really have
something
to
that
see.
you're not concerned about that then? About potential side effects?
Oh, of course,
Yeah.
man, of course. And so, like, I'm a late adopter, man. I think I'm a skeptic, right? I would say I'm an open-minded skeptic. So I'm going to be the last one to like, oh, maybe I'll try. Maybe I'll do all the research before I'm putting something in my body. So with SLUPP, the reason I was willing to try it is because I saw it's coming from a North American lab, and I was like, they're not going to let anything out of their lab that isn't already safety tested, at least to some level. I'm sure there's many more years of safety data that need to come out, but yeah, the beginning of it is certainly underway. So like, let's try it. I've heard a couple other people trying it, getting great results, and so I didn't try like mega dosage, which a lot of guys are doing. A lot of guys are up in the range of like I want to say like 200 milligrams. So you'll see like 200 microgram dosage. You want to do like 200 milligrams, which is 10 times a dose, or maybe even 100 times a dose. So it's a big, big difference. So you have to, yeah, make sure you know your source, make sure you know your molecule, make sure you know your dose.
Yeah. I mean, it's something, again, I haven't dabbled in it yet because I've not felt like there's been an issue
You don't need it.
which has been
Yeah,
like so much of a problem where I'm like, okay, I need to do something to address this. Like everything is good. But of course, as I said, I'm looking to optimize different areas. So maybe there are certain things that can help. Like one thing you mentioned about the sleep, like I'm averaging
Yeah.
at the moment, according to Whoop, 7 hours and 7 minutes sleep, which is okay. Now it fluctuates throughout the year because of the travel, sleeping in
Travel,
different beds, time zone changes. It got to the point where it was like 6 hours 20. I think that was the worst month on average. But I don't think I get as much deep sleep as I should. It never really seems to be more than an hour.
Yeah, so there's two ways to look at that, right? As we age, our circadian rhythms get dysfunctional because the pineal gland is not operating as well. You're not producing as much melatonin. So if someone is older and they're just consistently having bad sleep, it often requires a circadian reset, which then we start looking at things like epitalin, which is a peptide that can help reset the circadian rhythm. Pinealon can help to reset the pineal gland. So doing those can help to actually reset circadian biology. There's been some research that came out that shows epitalin every day for 10 days at 10 a.m., which is an interesting time, but at 10 a.m., actually increased deep sleep by up to 2 hours for people who are having circadian dysfunction, which is interesting. So those are more like long-term fixes. Then there's things that are like immediate fixes, like I can take DSIP, deep sleep inducing peptide, or I can take Pinealon. And for me personally, if I take Pinealon once or twice a week, my sleep numbers skyrocket. Like I get 2.5 hours REM, 2.5 hours of deep. But I feel like if I take it too often, maybe I'm not going to get the same benefit. I also, by the way, stack that with the amino acid glycine. Glycine is very calming. It's very important for detoxification. We put that in, and it's unbelievably useful for those things two together for helping me sleep more effectively. Again, you also need magnesium. So understanding why you're not sleeping, right? People are like, I'm just not sleeping, general statement, but like, why are you not sleeping? Is there a specific reason? Is it too much light exposure? Is it too much adrenaline? Is it too much cortisol? Is it, who knows, right? Maybe some type of inflammation. There could be an infinite number of reasons why you're not sleeping well. So let's address the root cause rather than just slapping a bunch of shit on it and seeing if it sticks.
Yeah. Okay, good. Moving on from peptides, let's go to general supplements.
Supplements.
Yeah.
Man, again, impossible to say. Like, I don't know that I have any miraculous supplements. I think we've done this for 20 years. Like every human should be on creatine. It's funny because I've been taking 20 grams of creatine since I was a professional bodybuilder. And people thought I was crazy. I was like, it just works, man. Like if I don't sleep well, if I need to train more, it just works. And to be honest, during my career, I was a little worried about my kidneys when I did it because I was like, oh, it's gonna mess up your kidneys. My kidneys are perfect. I've never had a kidney issue. Never once had high or low kidney values on my test. So actually, so I think creatine's on there. I would put fish oils on there. Everyone who wants to live long inevitably will have some type of mental decline. And the higher you can keep your omega-3 index, which is a testable thing, you want to have a 12% omega-3 index. If you can keep your omega-3 index up around 12%, the likelihood of Alzheimer's, dementia, and mental decline decreases significantly. That's important. So creatine, fish oils, magnesium. Everyone should be doing magnesium. Most people should be doing methylated B vitamins unless you're eating organ meats. What else? I mean, there's an infinite number of things that could be potentially valuable.
Do you supplement with the organ meats, or do you actually eat the organ meat itself? Like prepare it, buy it?
Both. If I can find a really good wild like venison or thing like I'll eat the organ meats. If I'm just eating like farmed cow, like I don't, in which case I'll generally get supplements. But yeah, I don't do it consistently. So I'll do a bottle and then I won't do it again for 3 months. And it's funny, that's how I actually approach most supplements, by the way. And many people don't agree with this, but it seems to make sense to me. It's like there'd be no time in nature where you constantly had the same vitamin protocol, right? Like in vitamin protocols, evolutionarily would have been, well, there's a growing season where I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, and there's a season where I don't get a lot of fruits and vegetables. So I go through seasons of like in the summertime, I don't take a lot of vitamins. I don't take a lot of minerals. I eat foods because I have so much abundance of things in my garden or things at the farmer's market. And I'm eating all those foods. And then in the wintertime, maybe I take a little more supplements to make sure that I'm having those micronutrients that I may not otherwise get. I think that's about it for supplements. I'm sure I'm missing some stuff because I don't like to throw out general statements, but I think my suggestion is everyone should just be working, like at least do your best to like do a blood test and like see what your body needs. Do a urine analysis, see what your body needs. Do a genetic test. If it's a lot of money for you, don't do them at the same time. Do it like over the span of 6 months, and it costs you $1,000 all in, right?
Yeah.
To do genetics, blood, and urine, and get a really good snapshot of what's going on in your body instead of guessing.
Yeah, what I learned about mine, my copper levels were very low. So that was, I think we were trying to figure out what it was. Maybe it was the lack of the organ meat. It was lack of direct copper supplements and eating certain foods. But
I'm guessing you eat a lot of red meat. Yeah? You eat a lot of like steak.
I'm eating more of it now than I used to. I used to be on the fence about it.
Could be that.
But now,
yeah, it could be that.
That's definitely helped. So it's almost up to optimal levels, but it's definitely improved. But yeah, I mean, that's the importance of doing a blood test if no one's actually ever done a blood test, because otherwise you'd...
Yeah, are you taking GHK and copper? So if I was to choose one peptide, by the way, that might be the one. GHK-Cu is, someone just like look up meta-analysis of GHK-Cu, it'll blow your mind. The benefits of that peptide are remarkable. Obviously, PPC is amazing. But GHK is one of these, like, just look up meta-analysis, post it in the show notes, and it's like, it'll blow your mind, man. It's a pretty remarkable peptide. And if you're not already taking it, it'll bring your copper levels up.
Yeah, awesome. I'm definitely going to check into that. One question we had on calculating macros, is it necessary for you to really specifically calculate them and stick to hitting those numbers every day? Or can you have a more flexible approach? Can you eat intuitively, or do you really need to stick to the numbers?
It depends on who you are. If you're fat, then you need to stick to the numbers. If you're someone who's very lean naturally, then you probably don't. And so, and why I say that is like people who are fat generally have dysregulated hunger signals. So if you're overweight, chances are your leptin and ghrelin signaling is off. Chances are your relationship with food is dysfunctional. So like I would just, if you're trying to lose body fat, measure your stuff for sure. Someone who's lean and active, like I don't measure my calories anymore, man. I did for 15 plus years every single day. I've got a pretty good idea of what I need. And if I get a little fat, I'm like, oh, I'll just pull it back in a little bit. If I get a little small, I'll bring it back up a little bit. But I have more of like a thermostat model where I'm like, if I get fat, I'll pull it back down. If I get small, I'll bring it back up. So I try to stay in this like, 12 to 14% range. If I get over 14%, it's like, bring that back up. If I get too small, I feel like I'm losing muscle, like crank the calories back up and train a little more. Like, I don't personally track calories anymore. I think it's useful, but I did an idea of how to do it.
Yeah, I think I always say to people, it's if you've never done it before, do it. Learn how to do it. Get an idea of what's in the food you're eating, because most of the time people are pretty horrible at estimating and guessing, and then when they've done it, they actually have that, even just a little bit of discipline of the process of having to do it. It can definitely help. But then once you've kind of, you can eye it, you can gauge it, as long as I know some people like to eat more frequently than others, but if it comes to, are you a believer of now consuming at least 1.6 gram per kilogram of protein to
Yeah.
hit
Yeah,
the
same.
baseline? Yeah.
And I think I'm a more is better kind of guy. There's obviously a point of diminishing returns, but I think just more protein in general. I've yet to see any negative effects there, unless someone's gut is already dysfunctional, in which case that could cause a problem. But fix the gut. The protein's not the problem. The gut is the problem. So yeah, I'd say at least 1.6 grams per kilo.
And I was just curious, did you train with Mike O'Hearn when you're out there?
Yeah, I've been training with him all the time. But we're training again tomorrow morning.
How was it?
Training podcast. He's the best, man. Mike and I've been training together for years. I love the guy. I love the guy. Yeah, it's he's a freak, man. He's 57 years old and he's so strong.
Yeah.
Like, and Mike Ryan, I don't know if you know Mike Ryan. Mike's 59, and Mike looks like he's got the body of like, someone who's a national level bodybuilder, like really good body, like super lean all the time. Like, he just looks like he's 25 years old. These guys are, I mean, obviously living in California is a great advantage, but.
This is the funny thing about a lot of the guys who are pushing all this longevity and the biohacking stuff. There's actually not really that many that I look at where I'm like, when I'm your age, I want to look like you.
I want to look totally.
But when I see Mike O'Hearn, I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
Because you,
Right.
not only does he look great, but it's the sheer strength that he still has is like, it's freakish.
Yeah.
And one thing that stuck out with me when I did a video with him when I was out there, he said what he was doing is he was doing yoga with weights. So sometimes he will do these movements or choose exercises where I think, I don't feel like this is the most optimal exercise to hit a particular muscle group. But he's not necessarily doing it for maximizing the tension on a particular muscle group, but it's more so just a different movement so that he's going through, like almost like he's doing yoga, but with resistance.
Interesting.
And he said he's never been injured.
Interesting. Yeah, man. And that's the thing you say about Mike. One, he's never missed. So when I was living out here, 4 o'clock in the morning, I'd be there every day doing cardio. Mike would be there every morning. He never missed. So he never misses. And then the guy just doesn't. He's not negative, man. That's what I think I love about Mike. He's 57 years old, and everyone else in the fitness industry is like pissing at everybody and fighting with everybody and picking on people and shit talking this guy's message and that guy's message. And Mike just shit talks himself and makes fun of himself, which I love. Like, everyone else, he's just cool. He's just cool with, man. And like, whether he's been that way all the time, I don't know. But like, I've known him for almost 20 years, and he's always been amazing. So massive respect and admiration for Mike.
Yeah, awesome. So we'll wrap it up now. Just one final question or any advice you can give to people who are, they're either starting on their journey or they want to give it this year a real shot and they want to try and keep it going for the entire year. Have you got any words of wisdom or motivation for them?
Prioritize it. Whatever you prioritize, whatever you commit to, you're going to get, right? So if you're doing it at the end of the day when you're tired, you feel like shit, you're going to fail. Like, you're setting yourself up for fail. I love to set myself up for success. And that means like minimizing the number of things that I'm committed to and making sure they're priority in the day. So my highest priority is always going to be my family. So I put my kids above everything else. And once I check my boxes with making sure I spend time with my kids and make sure they're taken care of, my second highest priority is my health and well-being. So then wealth and business comes beneath that. And I make those decisions very, very consciously every day. Mm-hmm. So like, I know I'm going to be fine in business. I know I'm going to be successful in business. So then I'm like, I need to make sure that I make sure to take care of my health. And there can be seasons of life. There may be a season where your health comes beneath your business, but be intentional about that. But like, hey, you know what, for the next 60 days, for the next 90 days, I'm going to deprioritize my health because I have a very specific financial goal that I'm hitting. And once you hit that goal, then you got to reprioritize. You got to shift it. And so this is what I do with a lot of my guys is we work toward like understanding, creating clear expectations. Because if you have an expectation that you want to get to 10% body fat, but it's number 4 on your list of priorities, you have no chance.
Yeah.
So if we say it's number 1 or number 2, then like, okay, great. Then we're going to make the time. So if you're saying it's number 4, number 5 on my priority list, that's fine, but don't expect to get to 10% body fat and sustain it when you're currently at 25. It's just not going to happen. So you have to recognize there's seasons of life, man. I always talk about seasons and systems. So we have seasons of life. Once you got to know the seasons of life, create the system. So like, what season are you in? If the season of life says the next 90 days to 180 days is going to be me focused on getting in the best shape of my life, then focus on getting the best shape of your life and commit to it. And if not, then don't sell yourself short, because you're going to always feel like you're letting yourself down. So be very clear with those expectations.
Yeah. Awesome. Amazing. Thank you, Ben. I appreciate your time. I will actually be in America again in March. So I think I will predominantly...
You'll be in Miami?
Yeah, I'll be in Miami probably for most of it. And then I may be over on the West Coast as well in LA. Basically, I'm just going to be going where the sun is. I don't want to go anywhere cold. I want to stay near the beach, in the sun, where there's good gyms and
Smart man.
things to do.
Yeah. Come through Tampa, we'll shoot some videos together.
Yeah, I'll be down for that. Awesome.
All right, brother.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Mike.
man.
Thanks for having me, man. Thanks,
you.
everybody. See you guys.
Nice. What a guy. What a guy. Literally, I feel like I just could speak to him for hours on end. Very smart guy. So,
Screens?
know how to do that. Awesome, guys. So for anyone who missed that or didn't get the entire conversation, I'm going to keep it up temporarily on YouTube, but both the videos are going to be taken down, and you're only going to get access to that if you're part of the Coaching Accelerator. So imagine this, guys, conversations and interviews of that caliber happening on a weekly basis with people like Ben. I will be sourcing the most knowledgeable people. Not only am I going to learn stuff, but you guys will be learning stuff as well. So make sure that you get involved with the Coaching Accelerator. For those people who are on or will be starting the 12-week aesthetic blueprint, I'll be doing it with you. So I'm looking forward to, I don't think there's going to be a huge transformation of me personally. My goal is to actually just lose a little bit of body fat and hold on to the muscle. But as you said, having someone that will hold you accountable, keep you pumped, keep you educated is going to definitely increase your chances of staying on track and getting results. So,
Talk about new guide and app update.
yes, a few other things regarding the app. You now will have check-ins every 4 weeks, so you'll get asked to take and upload progress pictures every 4 weeks, which wasn't there before, but I need you guys to do because you need to have that comparison of pictures to see how your physique is actually changing. Scale weight will obviously tell you a little bit of the story. Changes in the dimensions of different muscle groups can help, but it's that actual visual change which you need to keep a track of, because if you look in the mirror every single day, you might not actually notice the changes. What else have we got on the app that has been updated? We've got some new exercises which have been added. We are also having a massive overhaul of volume. This isn't out yet, but I think it'll be out later this week. So in terms of the past, we've had target volume. So I'm going to scrap that and instead give you recommendations of how you should improve on a week-to-week basis. So based on your previous week's performance, I'll either tell you there's going to be two ways that you can make progress. Either there's going to be weight targets, or there'll be rep targets based on whether or not you're doing the same weight or a little bit more weight. So you'll have more specific guidance when it comes to you understanding and knowing what weight selection and rep ranges you should be doing to ensure that you're making progress on a week-to-week basis. So very excited about that. And then in the future, which is not released just yet, we're going to have the ability for you guys to create your own workouts, but under my rules and under my parameters, so that you don't end up putting ridiculous programs together for yourself, because that will easily be completely out of control, to be honest.
Do lifetime members need to upgrade?
Lifetime members do need to upgrade. Of course you do, but it's obviously not going to be a lot. But you will get your email. For those people that was actually able to access the lifetime membership, lucky you. But you just had to be a part of that. So those people will also need to upgrade their package. Only a little bit though.
The last question, Mike, can you flex your biceps?
Oh my God. People really want that? Go on then, you don't have to tell me twice. There we go. What a silly gym bro. Thanks, guys. I need to go to bed because it's 5 past midnight and your boy is extremely sleepy. And as I've mentioned, I'm trying to get on top of my sleep protocol and sleep regularity. So I should really be hitting the sack very soon. I appreciate you all for joining. Love you guys. Hope to see you inside of the app. And next week when we start the first of our weekly calls, Monday. Link in here, link in your emails, either upgrade or hopefully sign up. If you're not a member of the Thirst app, then you really are missing out. See you guys soon. Yes.